Today I'm in Franklin, Kentucky at the farm of Kelly Bush. It's Vance's Mill Farm, and in this video we're going to talk about organic certification for a livestock operation, farm startup, and fencing cattle out of creeks, and using the NRCS to help cost share to do it. Stay tuned for that coming up in this one. We're on your farm here, and one thing you're doing is you're working with the NRCS to fence out this creek. What are you doing, and how are you doing it, and how is the NRCS helping you do this?
So basically what they're providing is the funding for the fence. We have to put it up. They give us so much per linear foot, and they have some stipulations as to what the interior fence has to consist of. So I think the interior fence has to consist of 4 high tensile wires if it's electrified. If it's an external, then it has to be 5, but the internal has to be 4. So what they're going to do is we're going to come so many feet off this bank, and we're going to fence it out on both sides to help prevent the erosion. Because right now, it's complete mess. The water's murky. There's tracks in and out of it, and I mean there's so much mud and dirt and trees that are falling in the creek that at this point it's kind of ridiculous.
Because you were saying over time, gradually this creek is widened, and that's just from the cattle going down the banks, loosening up the bank, loosening up the plant material, and then the water comes through and just cleans it out?
Right, yeah. There's, over here there's tracks where you can see where they're going in and out of it. And over time, where they go in and out, that'll become basically a steep bank or this slope, and then when the rain and the creek gets up, it'll just wash down into the creek. So when I was a kid, this bank or this creek was almost half the size it is now. I mean, you can see where the creek's running, and that's where the bank was probably a foot or 2 off this current bank.
And you're doing this with the NRCS. When you do something like this, they're covering 100% of the cost of putting in this fence for you?
They're covering just so much linear foot. So if it's 1,000 linear feet for this fence, then say they give us 75 cents per linear foot. And if we want, we can have somebody put it up, or we can put it up ourselves. If we put it up ourselves, we actually make money on it. So they are covering the cost 100%. It's not a cost share. It's basically a grant. I have to foot the money up front for the cost of the fence, and then I turn in my receipts and they reimburse me based on that cost, and they'll actually come out and measure the fence and gauge it that way.
Right now you're a startup farm. This is your first year farming on your own, doing this. Along the lines of working with the NRCS and fencing out the creek, how are you taking advantage of that program to try and help use that program to get stuff done on the farm? How do you know what's available? How do you know what you can use on your farm? Because I'm sure it helps a lot to get a lot of these projects done when money's tight and you're trying to start up, buy cattle, get a pig operation going, and if they can pay for this or at least cost share it, it helps you out. How have you navigated that system?
If it wasn't for the NRCS and the grants and our local CAPE program, the majority of the stuff that we've done so far and the things that we're going to do, there's no way that I could afford to do it on my own. I mean, the first place I went, and it's the first place everybody should go, is their county extension agent. Mine happens to be a good friend, so I'm always texting and calling him, and anytime that anything comes up, he's always letting me know what's out there and what I can get and things like that. He let me know about the KSU grant, which is the Kentucky State University grant, and that was just for organic producers or producers that was transitioning into the organic program. That was an actual $5,000 grant that we received, and that was for our cattle facility for a head chute. We're in that for $7,000 or $8,000. With the grant, that took 5 off. There's no way that I could have spent $8,000 without that grant. But if it hadn't been for my county extension agent, I wouldn't have known about this stuff. He let me know about 2 organizations that we have in Kentucky. One is KCARD, which is the Kentucky Center for Agricultural Development. And they help farmers navigate all kinds of different grants and different programs to help out on their farm. And then the second organization is OAK, which is the Organic Association of Kentucky, and they're the ones that's helped me navigate all the organic OSPs and the organic grants and things like that.
So these people are really there to help you along with the process. So
Yeah.
Start a relationship with them, ask a lot of questions, and they can help really guide you.
Yeah, so with both OAK and K-Card, when I was applying for the grant with KSU, and even the folks at KSU are, I mean, they're giving the grant out, but they're super helpful. K-Card and OAK both looked at my grant application before I sent it into KSU. So they really helped me narrow it down, get the focus narrowed, and get the detail that those who are judging the grants and scoring the grants, what they want to see. So it was really the detail, and I wouldn't have put that much detail in it. I didn't know, it was my first one, but with their help I was able to get all the detail in there that I needed and what needed to be in there for the scoring to be high, and we ended up getting it.
So right here we're standing in front of a head chute that is really expensive, but you didn't have to pay the full cost of it. You were able to look at some programs that were available to you here in the state of Kentucky to buy this piece of equipment. Can you talk about what you got in terms of cost share and how that worked and what a big advantage that's been versus trying to have to go buy this yourself as a starting farmer?
Yeah, so our old head chute was basically just a wood alleyway with a really generic head chute at the end. It was very unsafe for us. It was very unsafe for the cattle. It stressed us out. It stressed them out. And we had planned to buy a new setup anyway. Since we're transitioning, or at the time we were transitioning to organic, the Kentucky State University offers a $5,000 grant to the recipients that receive, the highest score in their awards, and they award the grant. They receive $5,000. Basically, it's just a $5,000 check. There's some stipulations. You have to do some reporting on it. With any kind of money like that from the government or a private organization, there's going to be some stipulations to it. But I mean, it's nothing that you wouldn't do for $5,000. If you had to buy this new, you're looking at anywhere from $7,500 to $10,000. With the grant, I got this at a discount because it's last year's model, so I've got $2,500 into it. There's no way that I could have paid $7,500 for this without getting that grant.
Just being resourceful, using the grant money, and then also last year's model versus buying the brand new one.
Yeah, and it goes back, because this year's model, it had a few extra things on it. It had a non-slip floor, which would have been nice, but for $1,000 to $1,200, it didn't make economic sense. But this all started, like I said before when we were talking, it started with my county extension agent. He got me turned on to the two nonprofits in Kentucky. They got me turned on to Kentucky State University's grant program. I called them up. They were super helpful. We put a lot of detail in the grant application, and I got an approval letter in the mail, and then 4 weeks later I got a check.
But Kelly, originally this farm was a conventional farm, conventional livestock operation, and you've made the decision to convert it over to an organic livestock operation. Why did you want to do that?
So 2 reasons. The first reason is because it's really something I want to do. I believe in organic, and I think if you do it right and if you're honest about it, that it's actually a beneficial thing for your health. And it's kind of like the grass-fed beef, and everything that we're working towards, and kind of what we did in class and what we're talking about and where everybody's trying to get to. But it's just really the second reason is for marketing. I mean, there are not several, but there's 4 or 5 grass-fed beef folks in Nashville that are selling at the Nashville Farmers Market, and it's really the only thing that I have to stand out from those guys. So I mean, it's twofold. It's something that we believe in, and it's a marketing aspect of it.
When it comes to beef, How much a premium do you think you get by being certified organic? Or is it just the sign, having the organic sign there hanging, or does it actually translate down to a price level?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's not much price difference. I actually think your prices are going to be higher on your grass-fed beef than what our organic prices will be. Their prices for grass-fed beef in Nashville are it's not what I expected, and I don't think the organic's going to translate. It might. I've talked to several people who said they would pay a premium for it, knowing that it came from somebody local, but I'm not really anticipating that. My costs are about the same as a non-organic farm if they're doing it GMO free, but I still get that label of being organic, and we use 100% organic feeds and feedstuffs.
What was the process like getting converted over to organic? How involved was it? Was it costly? You know, if you had to do it over again, would you do it over again, just given the process itself?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to do it over again, I mean, especially knowing what I know now, it would definitely be easier the second time. The first time you do it, there's 2 different OSPs, which is your organic system plan, that you have to fill out. Both of them are anywhere from 20 to 30 pages. One's for your crop, one's for your livestock. And those are basically your run book of your operation, how you're going to manage things, you know, what you're going to do about rotational grazing, if you're doing mob grazing, or if you're doing just regular conventional grazing. All that has to be in there. You have to figure in your dry matter, and it's a very involved process, and it took me probably 1 or 2 months to get all 50 pages completed. As far as the cost goes, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture is our certifier, and they only charge, I think, $250 to certify us, and then we can get a cost share to get that back. So the cost is, I mean, nothing. I mean, we'll actually get, I mean, the certification for absolutely nothing. It's just the time and effort we put into it. Being certified, I have to keep up with a lot of logs. It's kind of a ridiculous amount of logs. Every time I purchase feed, I have to log it. Every time I rotate some cows I have in a different field, I have to log it. If I go out and weed the field, if I spray it with an organic weed killer, or if I go out and hand weed it with a weeder, I'm supposed to log it. I mean, everything that you do is pretty much logged. When we get to the point where we're actually butchering animals, we have to log that too. We have to log how much everything weighed, what's the quantity that we received from the butcher, and then what's the quantity that we sold out. So there's quite a bit of work to it, but once you get into a rhythm, it's not so bad. For me, it's not that bad because I'm used to policies and procedures coming from an IT background. So for me, it's not that bad. It's something that I'm used to. If it's something that you have to get used to and you've never done before, then yeah, it could be that. That is what they've said is a barrier to entry for most people. Being organic is the record keeping.
Would you say a lot of that record keeping is stuff you'd do anyway? Like if you weren't certified organic, would you be keeping most of these records for the most part?
Some of them you would. I mean, the one that's really been helpful for me is actually logging when I'm rotating my cows, or when I'm rotating the heifers between paddocks. I know today it's been 2 days, so I need to rotate, you know, what's in there and go to paddock 8. Everything else is it's just part of it. I have to keep all the labels from all the seed that I buy, things like that. Some of that stuff you wouldn't have kept if you weren't organic, but since we are, we have to keep up with that stuff. We have to keep up with all the labels, and we have to be able to basically prove what inputs we have, what inputs we've put in the field, or what feedstuffs we fed, and prove where they've came from, and to make sure that they have come from a certified organic source.
When it comes to a livestock operation like this, how far does organic certification extend beyond your farm? When it comes time to process the animals that are leaving the farm, What type of processor do you have to look for? What type of questions do you have to ask when you go to a processor? How does that part have to be treated when it's not your farm, but your organically certified animals are involved in that?
So for us, we actually have to go to an organic certified butcher shop or slaughterhouse. And unfortunately, there's only 2 in the state of Kentucky, and both of them are over 2 hours away. That's for livestock like cattle, pigs, sheep, things like that. We have one up the road that's organic that does poultry, chicken and turkey. But being organic, we have to make sure that it's done at an organic certified facility.
Originally, I met Kelly at the Farm Business Essential Workshop, which Darby and I hosted in March of 2017. If you want to learn more about the next iteration of that workshop, which is taking place this October 2017, visit the link below or go to permaculturevoices.com/farming-workshop. That's all for this one today. It's been a joy in Kentucky here. It's absolutely beautiful country, a lot of grass, a lot of trees, rolling hills. Beautiful farm country. Wherever you're at, enjoy it, because life is pretty darn good out there. But thanks for watching this one. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.